السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واقتدى بسنته إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Episode 79, we continue with the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A very sad, a very tragic incident has just taken place in the same month of the same year, the fourth year after Hijrah, in the month of Safar. Another tragic incident known as the incident of Bi'r Ma'una takes place. Something along the same lines, this is perhaps arguably one of the most grief-stricken periods Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in his entire seerah. What is the incident? The month of Safar, the fourth year after Hijrah. Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they have been requested through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by a specific leader of a certain tribe. This is a man who has asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to dispatch a delegation, to dispatch a group of Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Just before this request is put forward by this individual, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is confronted by a man whose name is Amir bin Malik Abu Bara. Amir bin Malik Abu Bara. The name Amir and Amr are very household names. In today's episode, we're going to come across these names, and it's not the same Amir that of course we're referring to again and again. Nevertheless, Amir bin Malik Abu Bara is the evil one who has made this request to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would send to his people, the people of Najd, who continue to corrupt the affairs of the Muslim Ummah till this day. Nevertheless, he has requested Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to send a group of Sahaba radiallahu anhum to teach the people of Najd how to embrace Islam and how to learn Islam and how to practice Islam and how to read the Quran. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam begins this discussion with this man when this man, he offers Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam certain gifts. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam refuses. Allah has inspired him perhaps. Otherwise it was the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to accept a gift generally. It brings about love, this hatred and animosity and jealousy and all of this envy and all of this that we have, unfortunately, that has soiled and polluted our hearts. Rasulullah ﷺ has taught us divine prophetic teachings. In order to eradicate all of this, give gifts to one another. And if we can't, unfortunately, we're cheap and miserly like myself, then what we can do is make dua for the person that we are jealous of or envious of. So Rasulullah ﷺ on this occasion is offered these gifts. Rasulullah ﷺ rejects them. Rasulullah ﷺ then puts his offer forward. And what is the offer of Rasulullah ﷺ on this occasion? Rasulullah ﷺ asks, he requests, he proposes to this individual Islam. And similarly, this individual refuses to accept. However, he doesn't outright reject the offer of Rasulullah ﷺ in his accepting Islam. But this individual would then request Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that if a certain selected group of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were sent by him to the people of Najd, as mentioned earlier, then perhaps those people would embrace the religion at the hands of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. The moment Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard this offer from this man, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that there seems to be something fishy, for lack of better words. It seems like that these people are there might just be some harm that is meted out to my companions at the hands of these people about whom you say that they might embrace Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sensed this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made it clear to them and he worded this. He had to express his sentiments in words. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this to Amir bin Malik Abu Bara, he replied, Amir bin Malik said, I give you my word. I guarantee these people their protection and safety. As for their protection, you have nothing to worry about. I will vouch on behalf of the people of Najd that those that you choose, you select to send to them, they won't cause them, your Sahaba, any harm. This was the word that was given by Abu Malik. This was given by Amir bin Malik Abu Bara. Rasulullah ﷺ has already sensed that these people are up to no good. And he's made it clear with a few words that he said. But nevertheless, Rasulullah ﷺ then selects a group of Sahaba. One Sahabi is enough to fill the world with nur. 70 Sahaba, wow, nurun ala nur. 70 Sahaba from amongst this galaxy of companions, 70, those who were the Qurra, those who are titled, they are classified, they are given this honorable title of Qurra. They are the learned ones. They are those that used to spend their nights in one of two things, or one of three things: learning the Quran, teaching the Quran, and spending the rest of the night in tahajjud. These are a very special group. I mean, every Sahabi, وَكُلًّا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْحُسْنَى كُلُّهُمْ عَدُولٌ. But this group here, so they used to spend the day collecting firewood, and then they would spend the evening selling this firewood, with which they were able to obtain some money, and then they would use that money to purchase food for Ashabul Sufa, for those who were of the Sufa, that platform, that raised platform in Masjid Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. This is not an ordinary group of Sahaba. This is a very special. Rasulullah ﷺ, he's on one hand, he's skeptical. I don't know. Maybe it should. No, maybe not. But at the same time, Rasulullah ﷺ sees an opportunity, and he doesn't know the unseen. He sees this as a wonderful opportunity. If I can send my companions there, as a result of which the people of Najd can embrace Islam, it's like you've hit You've hit the target. Can't miss it. Nevertheless, Rasulullah ﷺ appoints over this group of 70 Sahaba radiallahu anhum, their Amir, their leader, Mundhir bin Amr as-Sa'idi. That individual who had requested Rasulullah ﷺ to send the 70 Sahaba in the first place is a man by the name of Amir bin Malik Abu Bara. Now this Sahabi that Rasulullah ﷺ is appointed as the leader of this delegation of 70 Qurra from amongst the Sahaba is a man by the name of Mundhir bin Amr as-Sa'idi radiyallahu anhu. So these individuals, they go and they're spending their nights learning the Quran, teaching the Quran. خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. They're those that spend their nights in the worship of Allah, performing long rak'ahs of tahajjud salah. تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبُهُمْ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. This is again, Sahaba, and not just Sahaba, these are the Qurra from amongst the Sahaba. They take off. That time for them to go has come. So these Sahaba radiallahu anhum would leave. When they leave, they have been dispatched by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with a letter. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has written a letter, or he's got this letter that has been made, that has been written up. And this letter is addressed to an individual by the name of Amir bin Tufail. Amir bin Tufail is the nephew of that same Amir bin Malik Abu Bara. We have Amir bin Malik Abu Bara, the first Amir in the picture. We have Mundhir bin Amr as-Sa'idi, the Sahabi radiallahu anhu, who is the leader of this delegation. Now we have the one to whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has addressed this letter. He is the nephew of that Amir bin Malik. This individual's name is Amir bin Tufail. Amir bin Tufail is the nephew of that Amir bin Malik Abu Bara. Nevertheless, the letter has been placed in the hands of a Sahabi by the name of Haram bin Milhan radiyallahu anhu. Understand this? Let us just rewind a little bit. Rasulullah ﷺ is about to dispatch this group of Sahaba. The leader of this group is a Sahabi by the name of Mundhir bin Amr al-Sa'idi radiyallahu anhu. They have been given a letter. This letter has been put in the hands of Haram bin Milhan radiyallahu anhu. He is to take it and deliver it to a man by the name of Amir bin Tufail, who is the nephew of that Amir bin Malik Abu Bara. Moving forward, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum get to a place called Bi'r Ma'una. And that is the same geographic region after which this entire tragic incident in the history of Islam is named. When they come to Bi'r Ma'una, that same Sahabi, Haram bin Milhan radiallahu anhum, even before he could read out the letter to the individual Amir bin Tufail alayhi la'natullahi wal malaikati wal nasi ajma'in, the same one to whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has addressed this letter, even before this letter was read out to him, with a gesture that had been made by Amir bin Tufail, Haram bin Milhan radiyallahu anhu had been killed there and then on the spot. This was the beginning of these people's treachery. These are the same individuals who had requested Rasulullah ﷺ to send such a group of Sahaba who were Qurra, who could teach people Islam, they could embrace Islam at the hands, at the da'wah of these people. This is the beginning of the treachery of such people. So, when Haram bin Milhan radiallahu anhu has been killed, he becomes a shaheed, he goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The moment he was killed, it was a spear that had been thrust inside of him from his back, and it penetrated through the front just before he breathed his last, the very last words. Now these are attributed to him, Haram bin Milhan radiallahu anhu. They are also attributed to another Sahabi who was part of this illustrious delegation of Sahaba. Nevertheless, Haram bin Milhan radiallahu anhu says it there and then, Fuztu wa Rabbil Kaaba. I swear by the Lord of the Kaaba that I have made it. In layman's terms today, I have made it, and I just didn't make it like you people would say I made it. By the Lord of the Kaaba, I have reached my goal. I am indeed successful. He breathed his last. He breathes his last. He leaves this world. The one who killed him is thinking to himself, I just killed this man for heaven's sakes. And here he is claiming that he's successful. Moving forward, when that enemy of Allah, Amr bin Tufail, he tried with these same people that were there with him at the time, at whose hands Haram bin Milhan radiallahu anhu has just met his martyrdom. He tried to incite them and to encourage them and to try to get them to kill the rest of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu who were part of that jama'ah. They said, no, your uncle had given his word to the Prophet ﷺ that these people, no harm would have been meted out to them whatsoever. He vouched for us. He promised sanctuary, safety, protection. And here we are now. There is no way that we go back against that word that had been given to the Prophet ﷺ. They refused. Once Amir bin Tufail realizes, I might just be in a little bit of trouble, what does he do? He then incites another group of people. Who does he get? The Banu Sulaim. He gets tribes, the Usayya, the Ra'al, and the Banu Dhakwan, to go and finish off the rest of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Unfortunately, they would heed the call of this enemy of Allah, and there and then they would begin the massacre of every single Sahabi who was a part of that special delegation of Sahaba radiallahu anhum. All 70 of these Sahaba, the Qurra, have now been killed. They have been massacred at the hands of the same people who had lied treacherously to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They had deceived him in thinking that these people were interested in learning and embracing the religion of Islam. No. Instead, they've been killed. 70 of them have been killed. One of them alone, that Ka'b ibn Zayd Ansari radiallahu anhu, one of these Sahaba who were a part of this special group, He was only spared because they thought he was dead. So they left him for dead. They thought he was dead too. He just happened to still have a little bit of life in him during that time. And yes, Allah would bless him later on. He would gain consciousness and he would continue to live, and he would continue to live for almost another 2 years. And then finally he would become a shaheed, martyred in the battle of the trenches, Khandaq. But nevertheless, this is the only Sahabi radiallahu anhu who perhaps would be able to go back and relate this entire story that transpired between these treacherous people, enemies of Allah, and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. So Ka'b ibn Zayd Ansari radiallahu anhu was saved. And that too, he was only saved because they thought he was dead. Nevertheless, after this, there's 2 other individuals. They weren't a part of this delegation. They were just busy at the time grazing their flocks, their herds. And so they noticed that there happened to be a flock of birds. And this was a signal, an indication that indeed some trouble has occurred. Because when you see birds hovering in the air like this, it doesn't happen. Just doesn't happen usually. This is something extraordinary that may have taken place. They started to understand that perhaps something's gone wrong. Some troubles occurred. When they went to the same place where the Sahaba radiallahu anhum had been killed, that is exactly what they found there indeed. They found that their companions, their beloved Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they were drenched in their very own blood. They had all gone back to Allah. These are 2 individuals. One of them, Mundhir bin Muhammad radiallahu anhu, and another Sahabi by the name of Amr bin Umayyah. Again, so this is the second Mundhir, and now we have an Amr. We have an Amr, then Amr, and an Amr, and now we have another Amr, amazingly. Mundhir bin Muhammad and Amr bin Umayyah start to address one another. They say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. Imagine you come and you find 70 of your Sahaba radiallahu anhum shuhada. 70 of them, they're covered in their own blood. They've been killed mercilessly, treacherously. Mundhir ibn Muhammad, after all, these are Sahaba too, lest we forget. Mundhir ibn Muhammad, who was the first one to see him, he says, you know what? This is it. Amr bin Umayyah says, perhaps we go back to Madinatul Munawwara, and if we do go back to Madinatul Munawwara, we should probably go and inform Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam of exactly everything that has occurred. Mundhir bin Muhammad has a different opinion. He says, hold on, wait a minute. Our Prophet is going to be informed by Allah regardless. Whether we choose to go to him and inform him of this treachery that has unfolded and taken place, or we choose not to, Allah will indeed inform him of everything that has happened. Allah will inform him. So why not we too join the ranks of our fallen, our shaheed companions, and go neck to neck and face to face against the enemies of Allah until we meet the same coveted end. So they did. Mundhir bin Muhammad radiallahu anhu faces the opponents. He becomes a shaheed. And Amr bin Umayyah radiallahu anhu, he is captured. When Mundhir bin Muhammad radiallahu anhu goes up against the enemy, when they take him, Mundhir bin Muhammad radiallahu anhu has become a shaheed. Nevertheless, Amr bin Umayyah, when he is taken to Amr bin Tufail, that enemy of Allah, who is the one who had all of these Sahaba radiallahu anhum killed. When Amr bin Umayyah radiallahu anhu is brought to Amr bin Tufail, first, Amr bin Tufail has his head shaved. His hair is all taken off. And then after this, he tells him, Amr, I will set you free. For my mother had made a vow that she was going to set a slave free. As a result of that vow that had been made by my mother, I hereby set you free. Mundhir bin Muhammad radiallahu anhu has gone back to Allah. Amr bin Umayyah radiallahu anhu has been set free. After this, And amongst these people who had been killed was a Sahabi by the name of Amir, the fifth. So we had an Amir, an Amr, an Amir, an Amr. This is Amir bin Fuhayra. Who is Amir bin Fuhayra radiyallahu anhu? He is the emancipated slave of Abu Bakr as-Siddique radiyallahu anhu. One of the many that Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu had emancipated and freed. Amir bin Fuhayra radiyallahu anhu was amongst those who had been killed in this tragic incident of Bi'r Ma'una. However, the one who killed Amir bin Fuhayra radiyallahu anhu, after he killed him, he says, من الرجل منهم لما قتل رأيته رفع بين السماء والأرض حتى رأيت السماء من دونه. Who is that man from amongst them who had been killed? I saw that after he had been killed, his body had been lifted to the heavens. This is Jesus-esque. His body had been lifted to the heavens, and it seems that he had gone above and beyond the skies. Now the hadith of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah makes it clear that his body had been brought back. It was not hidden in the heavens by the angels simply because this Sahabi or somebody else had made dua to Allah that they wanted to keep his body concealed and hidden from the disbelievers. No, the hadith of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah is clear. The body had later on been returned to this earth. Nevertheless, this enemy of Allah said, who was it? I saw his body was lifted into the heavens and it was gone, and it was so high up that it seemed that literally the skies, the clouds were under this person. Who was it? He was told it was Amir bin Fuhayra radiyallahu anhu. The one who killed him, a man by the name of Jabbar bin Salma. Jabbar bin Salma said, after that Amir bin Fuhayra, when I killed him, I realized he said the same thing, similar to what Haram bin Milhan radiyallahu anhu had said. He said, وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ, I've reached my goal. I've succeeded. I swear by Allah, the Lord of the Kaaba, that I'm successful. So this man, Jabbar bin Salman, says, wait, I don't get it. I just killed you. You're dead, for heaven's sakes. Where's success? I don't see success in this. He says, then I went to a man by the name of Dhahak bin Sufyan, and I told him, I need you to explain this philosophy to me. I killed the man, and after killing him, he claims by the Lord of the... these people don't take oath in vain. And when he did, he said that he had become successful. Now, this concept of success after you've been killed didn't make sense to me. Would it be possible Dhahak explain this to me and make me understand? Dhahak said, my friend, when he told you that he has succeeded, what he meant by him reaching his goal, that he had made it to the gardens of Jannah. Jabbar bin Salma radiyallahu anhu now says, this is when I embraced Islam. When I realized that whether they triumph in the battlefield and they're victorious, or whether they are killed, they're in a win-win situation. They don't lose. Even after being killed, they know they go back to Allah in Jannah as their final abode and final destination. He says, this is what brought me into embracing Islam. And then it was said, when he went back and they related to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the incident that had taken place regarding Amir bin Fuhayra radiyallahu anhu's body being lifted into the heavens, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Innal malaikata waratha jathatahu fi illiyin." As for the body of Amir bin Fuhayra radiyallahu anhu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's angels, they took it up and they took it to a level called the Illiyin, a very special, exclusive level for the elite of Allah's bondsmen, those that enjoy a very high status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's where his body had been lifted to. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst them. Nevertheless, when this incident had taken place, never in the history of the Seerah up until this point was there a point that we saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had been so grief-stricken as a result of any incident. It was the tragic incident that took place in Bi'r Ma'una. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so hurt that for one consecutive month straight, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam continued to make dua against these people who had committed this treacherous act of murdering these Qurra from amongst the Sahaba. 1 month consecutively, every day during Salatul Fajr, in the Qunut, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would continuously pray amongst them after this, pray against them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then turned to the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and said, your friends, your beloved friends, your companions, they have been martyred, and they had requested Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inform me of everything that has happened. And they have requested Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inform me that they are now with Allah. They are pleased with Allah, and Allah is pleased with them. May Allah make us like them. Ameen.